What's up, guys? We got some Q&A. We're back at it. We have not been good at it lately because we've been going off and doing some different stuff. So we're back at Q&A, the Q&A series, I should say. So if you guys ever want to know, so what we're doing, what the whole point of this is, we are building up a huge, I want to say reservoir, a repertoire maybe. We're building up a huge database of questions and answers, basically. These are questions that we get all the time. We literally have 100 questions, and we're going to have them. They're all housed in our YouTube channel. So if you guys ever, I'll put a link in here, but if you guys ever want to see, the answers to pretty much anything you can think of in real estate, they're going to be housed in our YouTube channel. So that's where you can find pretty much everything. And over probably the course of the next year, I'm trying to think, yeah, probably the next year, it'll be complete, or at least very, very thorough. And you're going to find, like I said, answers to pretty much anything. So no more, searching on Google, afraid to ask your realtor or whatever it is. No more of that. You can find everything you need to know straight from the horse's mouth, straight from, me, our team, our brokers here. It's, these are things that, we have experienced. All these things we've experienced ourselves and gone through, and getting information from our broker or whatever it may be, in all the experience we've gone through. So we are talking about some closing costs today. So this is obviously something that we get a lot. What are closing costs? How much are closing costs? And this is a great question, obviously, because everyone has to deal with it, and it is one of the most common questions. But what are the closing costs? This is easier to, we're going to go through basically the big ones, and there's going to be, some minor ones that they're not going to fit in here, but we're going to go through the big ones. The harder question to answer is how much are closing costs? We get that a lot as well. Your lender, your banker, your lender, whoever it is you're working with, they're going to have the estimated numbers. So they're going to get all that from you. They're going to get the house that you're looking for, or an example of the house you're looking for, and they're going to be able to get the taxes from that house and give you some estimated numbers as to what your closing costs are going to look like, your down payment, closing costs, etc. So that's going to be a lot tricky. There's not just one answer when you're saying how much are my closing costs. So that's something you definitely have to talk to your lender about and see what it is you're working with. They're the ones that break all that down for you and work with your numbers. Because a lot of times a real estate agent, they're not looking at your finances. And there are certain cases where that could happen, but the realtor is not the one looking at your finances. The lender, the banker, the bank are the ones that are looking at all that. So they're the ones that are going to have that information. What we can tell you is what are included in those closing costs. What are the big things you're looking at? Buyer side generally has more than the seller side. Obviously, everything evens out and kind of works its way out over time, right? So it's things that you have to do when you buy, you're not going to have to do when you sell, and vice versa. So one of the big things that you can do that you get for the buyer, obviously one of the biggest things is your down payment. So actually, you know what? Let's do this in red. Make it a little bit easier to see, hopefully. So that's your down payment. That's going to be, and that's one of the big myths that we see as well, is people think that you have to have 20% down to buy a home. There's a lot of programs where you can put 0% down. There's programs where you can put 3.5% down. There's programs where you can do 5, 10, whatever. You can pretty much, depending on your financial situation, you have a lot of options. We get so many people that still think you need 20% down. That's long and gone. If that was still the case, no one would have homes anymore. So down payment varies greatly, and that is, all part of and people use these terms in different ways. Technically you have your down payment and then you have your closing costs. They also are lumped together, because you bring one check to the closing table. So, your down payment's in there, and then all your other closing costs, which you're going to go through in a second. So that is your down payment, which again can be anything. It could be 100%. It could be a cash offer. It could be 50%. It could be 20. It could be 10. It could be 5, 3.5, 0 if you're possibly using a VA loan, a veterans loan, or if you're using possibly a rural development loan or something to that effect. So there are different things you have to ask your realtor, your real estate team, your lender. You have to ask us, hey, what can I do? What are my options? So down payment, that's one of the big ones. That's usually one of the biggest chunks that people get in their closing costs is taken out right there with their down payment. So the other thing, when you start getting into the rest of the closing costs, and again, those terms are used, everyone kind of uses them differently. But you have down payment, the rest of your closing costs. You have people will call them prepaids. You have like insurance. A lot of times you'll have to pay insurance for the year going forward. And you have to pay property taxes. So you have insurance. You're going to pay for your homeowner's insurance. And as your lender, if you're lending on the home, your lender obviously wants you to have home insurance. So you got to get insurance, and you're usually paying that up front for a year. And property taxes. There's usually some type of proration going on or something to that effect. But a lot of times you're paying the property taxes up front for that year. And it's depending on the prorations as well, and that, again, that's case by case. So those are usually some things that it might be a little bit bigger, depending on the size of the house and where you're buying. So, be prepared for that, obviously. And again, like I said, the lenders are the ones going to be able to really kind of help you out with all these numbers. And then you have a lot of what most people would call fees. And now this is, you doing business. And in just the nature of doing business, obviously you have fees. So you have a brokerage fee, or some people call it a transaction fee. That's using your brokerage, your real estate brokerage. You'll have the fees for using the insurance people, fees for using lenders. You might be getting charged points, and then you have your title. So you're using title, obviously, to close on the home. They're the ones that are making sure that the property is free of defects. So they are all obviously making money in business to make money, correct? So those are the fees you're being charged for using all those services. So these are the biggest fees and charges and the down payment and all that. That's the biggest stuff you're really going to see when it comes to your closing. So for the buyer, that's the biggest thing. You have your down payment, and depending on what that is, you're going to have that. It could be 0 down, or it could be 3.5% down, it could be 20% down, just depending. So you're going to have that, and you're going to have a lot of times, like I said, insurance, property taxes, and then you have a lot of the fees broken down into certain things. And again, there are going to be some other things too. There's going to be some smaller stuff. Not all these are that big. I mean, these fees could be $100, $200, $500. It could be $1,000. So each of them vary. Depends on, again, different transactions. So, but just be aware that those are the things that you're going to have to pay when you're going in as a buyer. Those are the big things. So be aware of that. Just be knowledgeable of that. Seller doesn't have as much stuff. They don't have as much necessarily, but they're big things. So a lot of times the buyer, their big thing is a down payment. A lot of times they have, depending, I mean, almost always, you have commission. So a lot of times the biggest thing that the seller is going to pay is commission. So they're paying the commission for the buyer and the seller agent. So the listing agent and the selling agent, they are getting paid by the seller. So when the home closes, the proceeds are going out, and they are being paid to the agents from the seller, by the seller. So you commission, and then you have transfer tax. So this is, Uncle Sam, that's the government getting there. So that's, the cost, of buying a home or selling a home. You're paying the taxes on the home. And the seller's usually buying the owners. So we talked about a little bit in here. We talked about the lenders. You have to buy like a mortgage policy, insurance policy. And they have the owner's title policy. So those are the big things. These are the big things. So the buyer usually has to pay the title policy for their lender, and then the sellers pay for the owner's title policy, which is for the buyers. But again, like we said, everything goes back and forth. It evens out over time, right? So eventually, when you buy a home, you'll have to sell and do the same thing. So they're paying for the owner's title policy. Transfer taxes, that's, again, tax. That's the cost of doing business. Just like here, cost of doing business, you're paying the commission to the agents, and you're paying Uncle Sam. You're paying the government to sell your home and take care of that transaction for you. So that is, in a nutshell, what closing costs are. So I hope that enlightens you a little bit as to what's going on in a real estate transaction. If you guys have any questions, again, I'm Brandon Gentile, the CEO of the Legacy Group Real Estate team here at Berkshire Hathaway. If you guys have any questions on this stuff, feel free to reach out and let us know, because this is, it's tricky stuff, and our goal is to have this be a one-stop shop, the hub of all your real estate needs. And like I said, this is going to be, we've done a ton of Q&A so far. These are all questions that we get. So if you have questions, please let us know. Tag people that might be interested, put questions in here and comment below. Send us Snapchats, whatever it is. We get a lot of Snapchats and things like that. So however it is you want to communicate, let us know. We'll hopefully get your question in here soon. We've got a big list right now, but hopefully over the next year or so, we're going to get everyone's questions in, all the questions that were asked a lot, and build a huge database of a resource, really a huge resource for all of our clients and anyone out there. That way they can get the questions they want answered in one spot, and they're not searching all over the internet. So appreciate you guys a ton, and we look forward to doing this again, doing this once or twice a week. So we'll see you guys next week. Have an awesome weekend. Talk to you soon.